What up, YouTube? This is your boy, Adam of Nola. And today we have a rather sour topic to discuss, which is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. At the time that I'm recording this, he was assassinated 2 days ago. They have his suspect now in custody, I guess. I'm sure they will try to do everything they can to bring justice to that young man in a very swift fashion. And when I got news about Charlie Kirk being assassinated, I purposely sat back a little bit and watched. I didn't want to crank out some immediate response video, although many others have. I wasn't trying to ride the wave, but first I needed to take a little time to process it myself, because I wanted to make sure I didn't say anything that would unnecessarily alienate people, although I'm sure I may do that anyway. And I wanted to make sure that I was putting on camera the perspective that I most wanted to portray about this incident. So I feel confident about that now. I don't, in general, feel the need to talk in depth about Charlie Kirk. I will discuss some of the details of him, but I'm not going to try to dive into who he was. For me, at least, this video isn't about Charlie Kirk at all. This video is about the Christian response to Charlie Kirk's assassination. I know that in a lot of my videos, you might think that I'm just another angry atheist guy. You might think that I hate religion or hate Christians, and that is not, generally speaking, true. What I do hate is the continual tendency that I see here in America of Christians to lionize some of the most disgusting individuals. I see this with Donald Trump. I see this with nearly everyone else in his administration. I see this with any conservative judges. And yes, of course, I see this with Charlie Kirk. I saw this before he was dead. And now that he's been assassinated, I certainly am seeing this in spades all over my social media feeds. Now, of course, I will give you the obligatory disclaimer, which is that there is no person who deserves to be assassinated. What happened to Charlie Kirk was obviously a disgusting act. And if anybody cannot be safe in the public sphere, then nobody can be safe in the public sphere. So regardless of what I think about Charlie Kirk, I don't want to live in a place where people are free just to shoot people down whenever they damn well please. But the simple fact is that I do live in a place where people are free to shoot people down whenever they damn well please, regardless of their political ideologies, regardless of their religious views. That being said, Charlie Kirk was human scum. He was an inveterate liar, a racist, a Christian nationalist, and just an outright purveyor of ridiculous conspiracy theories. He was a hate monger towards women, towards queer people, towards anyone who didn't hold his worldview. He was not someone who just wanted to debate the ideas with you. He was absolutely spreading this dung of Christian lies all over the landscape. Again, does that mean that he deserved to die? Of course not. There's a wife right now who will never see her husband again. There are 2 children who will never see their father again. And that's disgusting. But the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today in this video, again, is not Charlie Kirk in particular. It's the reaction that I see from these other YouTube channels lionizing him, making him out to be a hero and a martyr. And that, to me, is one of the most disgusting aspects of this that I can possibly fathom. Now, as someone who does an atheist channel, it probably won't surprise you that I subscribe to a lot of Christian apologetics channels. I guess you can call it enemy research. So my feed has a lot more of this than maybe you have in your feed. Nevertheless, it is enlightening and at the same time revolting and depressing to see the extent to which they are all climbing on the backs of this dead guy to try to pump themselves up and pump Charlie Kirk up as though he was a hero of the American people, or for that matter, as if he was a hero of Christianity. So what I'm going to do just briefly is we're going to look at the thumbnails and the messages that are being put out by these other channels about this horrible loss of Charlie Kirk and how great of a man he was and how this portends so much doom for Christians. Keep in mind, just to give you a bit of a litany for who Charlie Kirk was. Charlie Kirk promoted the cultural Marxism conspiracy theory, and he described universities as islands of totalitarianism. He was fond of telling young women in universities that the only reason that they were there was to find themselves a husband. And he was fond of telling any woman that the only real reason they exist is to have kids and a family. In a 2015 speech, he said that he did not get into the West Point Military Academy because the slot that he considered his went to a far less qualified candidate of a different gender and a different persuasion. Years later, he then admitted that he had no evidence for this and he tried to backtrack from these claims. In 2018, he falsely claimed on social media that the Justice Department statistics showed an increase in human trafficking arrests from 1,952 in the year 2016 to 6,087 in the first half of 2018. He later deleted the tweet without explanation after a fact checker had pointed out that the false 2018 number had originated on the conspiracy site 8chan. Yes, Charlie Kirk would forward conspiracy theories and ridiculously unverified information from 8chan. Of course, he spread a slew of misinformation around COVID-19. I'm not even going to try to count all of those ways for you here. He was also one of the people at the forefront of the Stop the Steal movement, in which he was trying to get overturned a duly elected president with no evidence whatsoever. When George Floyd was murdered, he called Floyd a scumbag. He also routinely repeated these conspiracy theories that have been disproven that Floyd was somehow overdosing at the time. It probably goes without saying that he's done everything he can to spread lies and misinformation about climate change. He was a Christian nationalist who called the separation of church and state a fabrication. And he said, you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population. So apparently countries like Japan just have no liberty because they don't have a Christian population. He was also notorious for changing his direction whenever it suited his political needs. For example, in the 2010s, he was not overtly against LGBT initiatives. But then he swung that way when he saw that it would meet his political initiatives, going so far as to call queer relations and same-sex marriage sexual anarchy. He has been frequently on record as being against the civil rights movement, saying that the entire Civil Rights Act of 1964 is some horrible piece of legislation that has led to the denigration of white people. He said, quote, prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people, unquote, in urban America. He has called Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson a, quote, recipient of affirmative action, unquote, and said she was nominated for the Supreme Court because of her race. Of course, he never said that about Clarence Thomas, did he? And he repeatedly made anti-Semitic claims about Hollywood, about the power structures in the U.S., about all of the Zionist conspiracies that you hear circulated amongst the alt-right. Despite all of these things, Christian America in general loved this guy. They lapped it up. And if you don't believe me, let's look at some of the reactions that we have on YouTube from other Christian apologetics sites. A messenger of truth who has 72,000 subs says, what the Bible says about Charlie Kirk's death. And then the thumbnail says, God's plan is great. This guy, a messenger of truth, is a particular piece of scum. He advocates for slavery. He advocates for anything as long as it can be literally found in his Bible. He doesn't care about anything else. On Apologists Studios, the title says, Charlie Kirk has died. Pray with me. Now, I want to be very clear about this. The idea that your Christian channel might want to pray about someone who has been assassinated is not wrong. It's not problematic whatsoever. But here's the question. Did you also pray about the victims of the school shootings, one of which happened on the same day when Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Did you pray for the legislature in Minnesota who was assassinated in her home? Oh, that's right. You didn't pay any attention, did you? Because that legislator was a Democrat. And by your worldview, Democrats are just all evil and they don't deserve praying for and they don't deserve God's love unless they bow down to MAGA. On the Living Waters channel, it says processing the deadly shooting of Charlie Kirk. And then it has a memoriam. It shows Charlie Kirk, 1993 to 2025. Living Waters is a notorious Christian apologetics organization. It's not even just a channel. It's an entire organization. And of course, they are going to bow down at the temple of Charlie Kirk and MAGA. Mark Driscoll, Pastor Mark Driscoll, who is a certified dirtbag in his own right. His title says, Charlie Kirk is now a martyr and a saint. Thank you for boldly proclaiming the gospel. Yes, because Charlie Kirk quoted Bible verses frequently in the midst of all of his hatred. We should now treat him as a martyr and a saint now that he's dead. The channel A Righteous Perspective says, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, gone but not forgotten. Conservative Charlie Kirk, dead at 31 years old. Rest in peace. Now, to be fair, A Righteous Perspective is a deeply Christian channel, but it's also a much more overtly political channel. So I'm not as surprised that they would have a big video on this, but it still doesn't speak well for those who want to say that Christianity is about anything more than white nationalism here in the United States. So the Apologetics Roadshow shows Charlie and his wife and kids on stage, and it says Charlie Kirk was murdered. In parentheses, critics are celebrating. If you're not familiar with the Apologetics Roadshow, this is one guy, but in this particular video, he has Inspiring Philosophy on as one of his co-hosts. And Inspiring Philosophy is a notorious theobro. He spreads all of the same kind of lies in the name of Jesus. And of course, they're going to be all sad and in their feels about Charlie Kirk being gone, because they don't care about anything that has to do with Christian morality. All they care about is their white identity that they've tied to people like Charlie Kirk. This is one I love. It's from a channel called Tattooed Apologist. The thumbnail says, is God still good in light of Charlie Kirk's assassination? Now, you can tell me God's good or God's bad. You know, I firmly believe that God is simply non-existent. So make up whatever good or bad you want for him. But the idea that Charlie Kirk getting assassinated would somehow imply that your previously all good, all powerful, all benevolent God somehow is less than is ridiculous. And if you're going to go down that path, again, then what do you think every time there's a school shooting or any other shooting where innocent people are mowed down? What did you think after the Pulse nightclub massacre? Did you wonder if God is still good after that? Or did you think that was a great sign that God is wonderful at all times? So needgod.net, that's the name of their channel. They did a video here that says Charlie Kirk inspired gospel chats. If Charlie Kirk's words and action inspired gospel chats, then that says something really sick and disgusting about your gospel. Because it is true that Charlie Kirk used the gospel at all times. He was very quick to quote verses whenever possible, but he did it in the worst possible way. And if you associate or identify with Charlie Kirk just because he liked to spew Bible passages, you should think very carefully about your own life. Now, to be fair, that was a stream. That same content provider then had a regular video that said, Charlie Kirk assassination. How should Christians respond? And of course, I'm not going to go through all these videos because it would take me doing a 6-hour video. But I'll tell you how Christians should respond. They should mourn the assassination of an innocent man in this country because that is sickening. And anything other than that, any other attempt to associate Charlie Kirk with your faith means that your faith is pretty sick and twisted. The next video is from Rustlin KD. Rustlin, I'm not sure. His title is Charlie Kirk's assassination is heartbreaking. This must stop. And if you watch the video, he's doing like this, very impromptu iPhone kind of video. He's like all sad. And he doesn't know how to process it. And again, that's fine, bro. Be ate up about the idea that somebody was trying to speak on a college campus and got a bullet put in them from 200 yards away. That's disgusting. But beyond that, that is the extent to which this should apply to your faith. Because if you're ate up about the fact that this Charlie Kirk guy was so special to you, that's a disgusting statement on your character. And it also makes me wonder, where are your tearful reaction videos whenever there are any of these other shootings that go on in this country? Whenever there are any of these other murders? Where is the tearful reaction video that you did when a Democratic legislator in Minnesota was assassinated in her home? I don't think you have a video for that, do you? How would you like to be one of my advisors? I'm using Skepticus's memberships as a way to allow you to have a voice in the content and the direction of this channel. I hope to see you in the membership pool, and I want to hear your voice in what Skepticus is doing going forward. So this one is from Vlad Savchuk. I've done a few response videos to his videos before. And he says, Charlie Kirk assassinated. Outspoken Christians are no longer safe. Now, I've seen a couple of these videos come up. This idea that now as a Christian, especially in this country, now you're not safe. That is so hypocritical and so blind to the reality of life in the United States that it's disgusting. Yes, it is really sad what happened to Charlie Kirk, and obviously things were not safe for him. But the idea that Christians in general have any reason to feel unsafe in this country is insulting. Christians hold all the levers of power, and it is such a sad theme that plays out over and over and over again with Christians, where they always want to feel like they're being martyred, like they're being persecuted, like, oh, woe is me. I can't even speak up anymore. I can't pray in public. I can't tell someone Merry Christmas. I can't even wear a cross around my neck because if I do, I will be persecuted. That's bullshit. Grow the hell up. No, you won't. And as much as I would say that this action of assassinating Charlie Kirk is disgusting, and it does make you wonder about the security at these events, to extrapolate this into Christians are no longer safe is just ridiculous. I also want to point out that this is sadly not a new phenomenon in this country at all. Martin Luther King Jr. was the definition of an outspoken Christian who clearly was not safe. Robert F. Kennedy was also a Christian who was assassinated in the 60s, and he was not safe. He wasn't nearly as outspoken as Martin Luther King Jr. But the point is that there have been outspoken people in this country and others who have been getting assassinated for as long as there have been outspoken people in this world. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't think about ways to make our society safer. But the idea that this somehow portends a new phase of danger for Christians in America is just ridiculous. I just recently did a reaction video to another video from Daily Disciple. And here you can see he put up a video called Charlie Kirk Died. And the thumbnail is a quote from Charlie Kirk saying, "I trust in Jesus." Yeah, that's great, Charlie. But of course, this content creator couldn't be bothered to put up any of the other quotes that were morally reprehensible, racist, xenophobic, and disgusting. All he wanted to do was focus on the fact that Jesus was apparently in Charlie Kirk's heart. Capturing Christianity put up a video that says what Charlie Kirk's murder means for us. And then the thumbnail shows Charlie Kirk with a MAGA hat. And the caption says, "This hurts." What hurts? Does it hurt that an innocent man got shot down at a university? Because, yeah, that hurts. That sucks. Or does it hurt that a hate monger that you appreciated because he spoke to your identity politics got shot down? What part of that hurts to you, capturing Christianity? You all know Wes Huff, don't you? He's become the new golden boy for Christian apologists. In his video with a memoriam for Charlie Kirk says, "Impromptu thoughts on yesterday's tragedy." Of course, if you watch this video, it's him speaking in a very heartfelt way about how sad he is and how it's dangerous and how this is horrible. And it's not necessarily that I have a problem with his words per se, but again, is this really what you're lionizing right now? And you couldn't be bothered to actually put out a response video for any of the other people that have been murdered in this country over the last year, have you? But this is the one that hits you. This is the one that really gets to your personality because it's someone who waves the Bible around in front of people and acts like he's Christian. On a similar note, we have this video here from the Council of Trent. If you've never watched the Council of Trent, he is a Catholic apologist, and his title says, "My response to Charlie Kirk's assassination." The thumbnail says, "Where do we go from here?" When you watch this content, these are some of the ones that I find more disappointing because he's one of these apologists who tries to come across in this more measured way, okay? He tries to put on this face like, hey, I'm not just this irrational Bible-thumping guy. Like, I'm more of a thinking man's kind of person. But no, he's really a Christian nationalist too. And when you watch the video, he speaks pretty lovingly about Charlie Kirk, and it's disgusting. So along that same note, you've also may have seen that I did a response video to one of the videos from Gavin Ortland. And here he does this video called "If You Need Hope." And the thumbnail is "When You Feel Overwhelmed by Evil." And the picture is the crowd outside of the tent at the Utah University where Charlie Kirk was gunned down. And just like with the Council of Trent, just like with Wes Huff, when you watch the Gavin Ortland video, on one level, it's a very respectful video. He's trying to look at it from a spiritual way. How do we deal with these problems? How do we pray for this, etc.? But I can't help but wonder when I watch this video, did you put out a video of this for any of the other people that have been murdered and shot down in cold blood in this country? Would you have cared if Charlie Kirk was a Democrat? Would you have cared if Charlie Kirk was an atheist? Would you be putting out content like this, or are you just pandering to your audience? Gospel Simplicity has this video that says, "This feels like a pivotal moment." And the thumbnail says, "This can't keep happening." What can't keep happening? People getting shot in cold blood in America? Because I guarantee you there will not be any change in gun laws here. There will not be any change in the Second Amendment. There will not be any change other than a few more metal detectors at public events. So nothing about this is going to change. Now, if you mean, well, we can't have Christian alt-right leaders getting gunned down, well, where the hell else is this happening? I mean, how many times have we seen this happening? It's not like there's an epidemic across the land of Christian nationalists getting shot down on campuses or anywhere else for that matter. So when you talk about what can't keep happening, you know, maybe I'll have to watch that video and do another response to that, because I don't think that he and I are actually seeing the same thing that's happening. Of course, infamous Theo bro, Big John Steele, had to do a live stream with his thoughts on Charlie Kirk, because we all need to know his thoughts on Charlie Kirk. So this one is another one of these themes of, oh, we're not safe anymore. This is Taylor Alicia. Her title is "Christians Are Officially Unsafe in America." And the thumbnail says, "Things are different now." How are Christians officially unsafe in America? The arrogance and the hubris that it takes to imply that because one outspoken hate monger got shot down in a public setting, that now Christians, all Christians, are officially unsafe in America. Listen to yourself. Get a hold of yourself. Have some humility. This is so embarrassing that you want to drum up hits to your channel by saying, look, Christians are officially unsafe in America. And this isn't just me railing against the arrogance in titles like this. This has real world impact because this is what will probably happen from this. One outspoken Christian hate monger gets shot down in public, which again is horrible, should never have happened. And in return, they will use this as an excuse to rain hatred down on anyone who has nothing to do with this scenario. They will bend this into having to crack down more on immigrants. They will bend this into having to discriminate more against the queer community. They will use this and twist this in any way possible as an excuse to further more hate upon the groups that they don't like. This one I love. It's from God Logic Apologetics. It says, hearing the news about Charlie Kirk passing, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, has a really sad look of his face there. God Logic Apologetics is a black man. Does God Logic Apologetics know all of the things that Charlie Kirk said about black people? And if so, would he be this sad? Again, if you're sad because anybody got shot down, then fine, be sad for that. But Charlie Kirk had no love for you, God Logic Apologetics. I guarantee you that. So here from Real Life with Jack Hibbs, it shows him hugging Charlie on stage, and it says, well done, Charlie, and in parentheses, 2 Timothy 4, verse 6 through 8. Well done, Charlie. In other words, this isn't about being sad because someone got assassinated in our country. This is about lionizing who Charlie Kirk was, which was a xenophobic, racist, disgusting, homophobic asshole. And these Christians want to embrace him and lionize him and make him into a martyr for their cause. On a similar note, this Angela Marie has a thumbnail that says, well done, good and faithful servant. Yeah, well done. That is what Christians think is well done. And that is a sad and disgusting statement on Christianity. Fight for Truth says this can never happen again. Justice for Charlie. Because I'm sure that Fight for Truth has been fighting for justice for all of the people in this country who have been gunned down in the prime of their life. I'm sure that Fight for Truth was fighting for justice for all the people killed in the Pulse nightclub massacre. Undoubtedly. I'm sure that Fight for Truth was fighting for justice for the victims of every school shooting that's happened in this country. I'm sure that Fight for Truth is working every day to make sure tangible steps are taken to ensure that this can never happen again. So Be It put out this video, standing boldly for Yeshua, honoring Charlie Kirk, a voice for Jesus. And it's a 1-minute video. Basically, he's praying and saying, lionizing Charlie Kirk because somehow getting behind an inveterate racist who was, yes, unfortunately assassinated, but nevertheless an inveterate racist, somehow that is standing boldly for Yeshua. This one here is darkly humorous. This Troy Black dude is a complete con artist. He is always putting up videos about the latest thing that God told him. And now you see he has this thumbnail with Charlie Kirk that says, what God just told me. Last night, God gave me a prophetic word for America. Well, maybe if God was speaking to you, he could have talked to you the night before Charlie got shot in the neck. And he could have told you, hey, get word to Charlie Kirk not to go to that event. Oh, that's right. It's not that kind of prophecy, is it? Not the kind that's actionable, that actually helps anyone. No, not that kind of prophecy. So there you have it. It's a murderer's row. pun intended, of disgusting videos put out by these apologists lionizing this disgusting person. And I don't expect them to cheer Charlie Kirk's death. Nobody should do that. But if these people had any sense of Christianity and any sense of decency whatsoever, they wouldn't be pandering to an audience to stir up this unrighteous indignation over a disgusting scumbag of a man. Whether you love Charlie Kirk or hate him, the fact is that he was actively working to divide people, not bring them together. He was actively working to other people. He was talking down to Black people and queer people and women of every ilk. He got rich off of his ability to divide people in the name of politics, and more importantly, to do it in the name of his God, his supposed God. And this is who you choose to lionize. I think that's really sad and really disgusting. Thank you for being here on another episode of Breakdowns and Beatdowns. This is, as always, your host, Adam of Nola. I hope to see you on future videos, but until I do, lo, I say unto you, stay skeptical.